Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a serious deep dive into the clinical data. Our goal is to upgrade ginger from that everyday kitchen spice sitting in your pantry to a scientifically validated medical intervention. We're going to stick strictly to what the peer-reviewed research actually tells us.
It sounds a bit crazy, right? Can a simple root actually replace the painkillers in your medicine cabinet? But what if I told you that this ancient remedy has literally stepped into the ring, head-to-head with modern over-the-counter pharmaceuticals in rigorous, double-blind clinical trials? The results are definitely going to change how you look at the spice aisle.
The real secret to this root's power comes down to this exact number, 400. That is the number of distinct chemical compounds we've identified in the ginger rhizome. It proves that we aren't just talking about a simple flavor enhancer here. Ginger is a highly complex, pharmacologically active substance absolutely packed with potential.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to start with Beyond the Kitchen Spice, move on to Taming Nausea and Digestion, explore its role as a natural painkiller, look at heart health and diabetes, and then finally wrap up with the crucial stuff: safety, dosage, and interactions.
All right, Section 1, Beyond the Kitchen Spice, the science of gingiber officinale.
So the actual engines driving the clinical effects we're about to explore are specific volatile oils and compounds called gingerols and shogals. Now, even though they only make up about 4 to 7.5% of ginger's natural essential oils and resins, these bioactive compounds are insanely potent. They are essentially the biochemical keys that unlock all of ginger's antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties.
Moving right along to Section 2, Taming Nausea and Digestion. More than just an old wives' tale.
Take functional dyspepsia, for example. You know, that chronic disorder where you just have persistent upper abdominal pain, bloating, and you feel full way too fast. Well, in an 8-week clinical trial, patients were given 1080 milligrams of daily ginger. And check this out, a massive 87.2% of patients rated their tolerability of this treatment as either good or excellent. And look at that bottom number, 0% rated it as poor. Honestly, you just don't see zeros like that very often in clinical trials.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how mainstream this data has actually become. We're talking about major global health organizations here. Both the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists and the World Health Organization officially recommend ginger as a first-line, non-pharmacological treatment for pregnancy-related nausea. So yeah, it has fully graduated from an old wives' tale right up to a clinical standard of care. And those effects? They hold up even under really intense medical therapies. In one trial involving patients undergoing antiretroviral therapy, which notoriously causes severe stomach upset, giving 500 milligrams of ginger about 30 minutes before the medication had a profound effect. The total number of patients experiencing nausea dropped significantly, down to 56.9%. Contrast that with the placebo group, where a staggering 90.2% of patients got sick. That is a massive difference.
Section 3, A Natural Painkiller, head-to-head with pharmaceuticals.
Let's look at the data and see how this really builds on our understanding of just how potent ginger is. Multiple double-blind clinical trials looked at women suffering from primary dysmenorrhea, so severe menstrual pain. The researchers compared 250 milligram capsules of ginger powder, taken 4 times a day, straight up against standard doses of ibuprofen and mefenamic acid. The conclusion? The ginger was found to be just as effective at relieving pain as those established NSAIDs. Just a spice, hitting as hard as the standard stuff.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the effect on blood loss. In a placebo-controlled, double-blind trial with teenage girls experiencing heavy menstrual bleeding, taking 250 milligrams of ginger 3 times daily resulted in a massive 46.6% reduction in blood loss. The placebo group, they saw a mere 2.1% reduction. So we are definitely looking at a significant, measurable physiological impact here.
And the pain relief even extends to the neurological level. In a clinical trial of 100 patients suffering from migraines without aura, they tested just a fraction of a gram of ginger, 250 milligrams, against 50 milligrams of the prescription migraine drug sumatriptan. Both the ginger and the prescription drug were found to be equally effective. Both interventions caused a 90% reduction in headache severity within just 2 hours. That is literally a game changer.
Okay, Section 4, Heart Health and Diabetes, Metabolic Interventions.
The data on diabetes is super striking.
In a double-blind trial involving patients who had suffered from type 2 diabetes for at least 10 years, the ones taking ginger saw a 10.5% improvement, meaning an actual reduction in their fasting blood glucose levels. Meanwhile, the placebo group somehow suffered a 21% increase. Plus, the ginger group saw really significant improvements in insulin resistance markers across the board.
Next up, we have the results of the SCORE trial, which looked at cardiovascular risk. Patients took just 800 milligrams of ginger a day, and it resulted in a significant decrease in their systolic blood pressure. Because of that drop, 15% of the patients taking the ginger actually dropped completely out of the risk category that requires lifestyle or drug interventions. So the crucial point is this: if a substance is powerful enough to lower blood pressure, act as a legitimate painkiller, and alter your blood sugar, we absolutely have to treat it with respect.
Which brings us to Section 5, Safety, Dosage, and Interactions, the clinical caveats. You see, clinical efficacy is entirely tied to specific, standardized amounts. You can't just randomly grate some root into your tea and expect clinical trial-level results. It just doesn't work that way. For morning sickness, the protocols call for 1 gram a day, maxing out at 1.5 grams. For pain and menstrual cramps, you're looking at 250 milligrams taken 3 to 4 times a day. And for functional dyspepsia, the target is 1080 milligrams a day, divided up with your meals. Now, while the FDA generally recognizes ginger as safe, it's not totally without mild, self-limiting side effects. Because ginger actually stimulates gastric acid, it can occasionally cause gastrointestinal issues. In that dyspepsia trial we talked about earlier, 14.9% of participants reported mild bloating, 12.8% experienced heartburn, and 10.6% had diarrhea. Fortunately, though, none of these effects were severe enough to make anyone actually quit the trials. However, you need to pay very close attention to these contraindications. Because of its clinical potency, ginger has some very real medical risks. It stimulates the release of bile, making it highly dangerous for anyone with gallstones or gallbladder issues. Its antiplatelet properties mean it can dangerously interact with blood thinners like warfarin. And finally, because it actively lowers both blood pressure and blood sugar, combining it with prescription medications for those conditions requires strict medical supervision, or you risk dangerous crashes. Which leaves us with this final thought. We've seen the data, we've looked at the trials. When standard protocols and precise dosages are applied, we're looking at a highly complex active intervention hiding right in plain sight in your kitchen. So, will you look at the spice rack differently the next time you need a painkiller? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning what you know about evidence-based natural medicine.